welcome to our session. We're here with Seb from Orlebar Brown. I'm Vic, one of the client success managers for Emarsys based in London. And today we're going to talk you through Orlebar Brown as a brand and kind of their route to hyper-personalization across all of their channels. Welcome, Seb. Thanks so much for making the time.
Hey Vic, how's it going?
Good, yeah, good, thank you. So just to start off, and for those that might be kind of part of an international audience and not really have a knowledge of Orlebar Brown as a brand, do you want to give us, I guess, a bit of an introduction to yourself, your role, your broader team at OB, and a little bit about the business itself?
Sure. So I'm Seb. I joined Orlebar Brown just over 4 years ago. Head up the CRM team, working with an amazing team who manage the customer journey from when a prospect might take their first steps into a store or visit the website, to retaining our most frequent customers season after season. Orlebar Brown was originally founded in 2007 by Adam Brown, who's still at the business today. The story of how OB started kind of originates around this story where he was sitting around a pool on holiday thinking about how awful some of the men's swim shorts looked. Elasticated waistbands, flimsy materials, poor shape, and wondered how he could do better. So the brand grew from that idea and expanded into other menswear resort categories, such as our famous terry toweling polo shirts, linen shirts, shoes that you can swim in. And yeah, it's expanded into a kind of a full resort brand rather than just swim shorts. We're multi-channel retail business as well, and we've got over 30 stores worldwide in both city locations such as New York, Paris, London, but also in resort locations, so places where our customers may choose to go on holiday as well, including Mykonos, Saint-Tropez, and most recently we've opened a store in Marbella. Today, our ethos is all about how we ensure how our customers holiday better. So that kind of doesn't limit us to just clothing. We're also thinking about sustainability. From a product perspective, manufacturing our shorts from recycled materials. And then from a social responsibility point of view, also how we offset carbon from the manufacture process with, for example, our partner Sea Trees, how they extract carbon from the atmosphere, releasing oxygen.
Awesome. That sounds fascinating. Thanks for the background. I think what will be really interesting is, as we're kind of talking through your business, it's obviously a bit of kind of a more premium proposition, an anti-speedo, if you may, and just personalization is obviously really important to you guys as a business, right? You're helping customers get to know your brand and, as you said, holiday better. Can you tell us a bit more about why personalization was always kind of at the center of what your mission was going to be as a business, and any challenges that you might have encountered along the way? I know you mentioned multiple channels. That typically tends to be one of the first hurdles, but what's that journey kind of been like?
So I think personalization is one of the key founding pillars of the brand. So we aim to provide all of our customers with a tailored service. Tailored is one of our buzzwords that we use every day. How a customer may buy through our stores, online, over the phone with one of our concierge team members, to how they pay. So they may want to pay by card, Apple Pay, PayPal, use a pay by link in store, and also how do they want that product delivered? Is it via click and collect, traditional delivery to door, or is it via our Toshi concierge, where somebody may turn up at the door with a selection of sizes and let you try on the clothes and take away the ones that you don't want. So it applies to our business, but it also applies to how we speak to our customers on a day-to-day level as well. I mean, one of the very early difficulties we had when it came to personalization was just using basic information such as a customer's name to be able to personalize our emails and other communications. But we're able to do so much more now, as a result of using Emarsys and looking at the different systems and how they integrate with one another. Really, I think it starts from an Emarsys point of view, where a customer is in their life cycle. So you make use of whether a customer is new, whether they're active, becoming unengaged, and when they become inactive as well.
Yeah, and you guys have been incredibly data-led, right, in this entire process, in terms of finding really granular pieces of information that you can kind of grasp at to make the experience really personalized to customers. I think one thing that I still find amazing, which is a bit of a no-brainer, is that whole leveraging of recommendations within your orders, right? It's a really easy thing to do, but no one else is doing it, and it does go the extra mile in terms of making that experience feel really, really one-to-one with your customers. Can you talk to us a little bit more around how you leverage data and how you kind of not only focus on the experience, but always make sure that that experience is backed by data itself?
Yeah, I think one of the issues we had originally actually was how our data was siloed. So our transaction data kind of wasn't talking to the data that we may have had in an email platform. So being able to neatly tie up customers with what they were buying, what we had available in our product feed, for example, and where the customer was in the journey really helped. I think in terms of prioritizing what was important was doing a data analysis to work out which part of the life cycle we needed to focus on, and then we could go from there and think about what products and what content we wanted to include, whether that be particular categories and being quite broad, to being super specific and using data to suggest a particular product that a customer might likely buy from next. But really, it kind of starts with analyzing the data that you've got, bringing that all together in one place, so the data is no longer siloed, analyzing, and then making use of all of the technology that Emarsys has in terms of recommendations. So we started our personalization journey after analyzing our data, determining what we needed to improve, and in particular the retention rate of new customers to the brand. So I'd recommend any brand to complete an analysis and prioritize which area of the life cycle to focus in on first. But using those results, we were able to determine whether there were any purchase patterns in terms of time between first and second purchase, what a customer was most likely to buy next. And eventually that insight took us to a more segmented approach, but we knew we had to take it one step further to provide customers with true one-to-one personalization. So the Emarsys product recommendation engine kind of ensures that we're putting the right products towards the right people. But on top of those recommendations, we've also been running automated lifecycle programs aimed at triggering at the right points in a customer's journey. So, for example, one of the latter stages of our nursery program is triggered using the AI propensity to purchase segment, which looks at which customers may be looking to purchase, and if they don't purchase, then making sure that we speak to those customers regardless. They make use of Emarsys Smart Insights to segment our database, look at which customers may or may not be unengaged with our email campaigns, look which customers or which segments of customers may be lapsing. And from there, we can look at using a different marketing channel as well. So it's not just about email, it's about Facebook, Google Ads, print marketing as well. I think that's really key, that we don't just keep the data and the insights we find on Emarsys in Emarsys, we kind of share it with the rest of the business. So whether that be our concierge team who are looking to, speaking to customers about a particular product they may have questions about, and then using that information that Emarsys has is going to make a massive difference on that experience that the customer is having. And if they're able to promote a particular product that they think the customer may be interested in, they can make full use of those recommendations. I think that's kind of the journey in a nutshell so far.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing that. And I think what you've said kind of talks really well to the fact that you guys have kind of mastered personalization now. Obviously, it's something that's constantly evolving, but you've reached a really good level of maturity where you're personalizing really well across all of these channels, right? Whether that's in store, through the concierge, or even, as you mentioned, print. I know you recently worked with our AI team as well on an experiment that looked at visual affinity. And it was something that really looked at bringing together data from online, in-store, sales, product, and inventory, and then be able to kind of cater products that, based on customers' previous behavior, we thought they were likely to engage with. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that visual affinity experiment, and how you're connecting kind of all of those data sources together, and what the results you saw from that were?
Sure, yeah, I think I'm right in saying that a traditional product recommendation engine uses previous sales data and behavior possibly to determine what a customer might buy next. Whereas the Emarsys visual affinity works slightly differently. So rather than looking at a specific product that a customer might purchase next, it looks for the visual clues. So how do items look similar to one another? Perhaps it's the shape or pattern or color. So for products that you've never sold before, you can now match these up to customers without the need for any previous sales data. And that kind of really helps a brand like Orlebar Brown that's using trends and new collections that are launched every month really on the website. So we did kind of struggle with the concept at first. We usually try to tell a story within our marketing campaigns. And we were worried that by using a recommendation engine, that some items might just not be appropriate for the campaign that we were trying to push that week. But the Emarsys team, I thought were great. So we were able to limit the products being recommended to those that we specifically told them to include. So if there was a particular collection that kind of fit the story and the brief, then we only needed to recommend those products using the algorithm, using that small selection of products rather than the full collection, which you might normally do with the other product recommendation engine. So that's kind of what we were doing with Emarsys in terms of product affinity.
And then can you talk to, I guess, as much as you possibly can in terms of the results that you've seen and the impact that you've seen on your customers as well? As you said, you had to have it tie in really well to that storytelling piece and how your campaigns are planned. Can you talk to, I guess, the difference that you've seen in those campaigns and how the experiment performed compared to your normal newsletter campaigns throughout the week?
We saw some great results in terms of click-through rate. I think that was one of the most obvious. So we were splitting the database 50-50 for the people receiving the campaigns. And yeah, we definitely saw a great uplift in terms of engagement, which is really promising. So they definitely liked the products they were seeing. And then, data is really important. We wanted a data-led approach to deciding whether this was the right way forward or not. Looking at the revenue data, so not just last click, and perhaps the customer came back within 7 days, for example. We definitely saw a considerable uplift, I'd say, to revenue performance from the campaigns, looking at that 7-day average rather than just last click. So customers do have a bit of dwell time in terms of making the decision to purchase. So I think it was right to look at that longer time period. So we also saw some time savings, particularly on behalf of our merchandising team, who would usually take a lot of time preparing products for campaigns. So the algorithm allowed us to select products automatically based on what a customer wanted to see, rather than sending item suggestions based on geographic location. So it really does speed up the whole process of building an email and making sure that the product selection is correct as well, especially when you don't have that product sales data at the start of the season.
It's been great to kind of hear more around innovation and how you're driving that in terms of your campaigns. what does the future of personalization actually look like for OB? And do you have a clear roadmap of what initiatives you're going to be kind of testing over the next 12 to 18 months?
I think we'll be looking to see how we can utilize some of the Emarsys insight a bit more across our marketing channels. So there's so much data within the platform that we'd really like to be able to surface that and specific content for customers that are more likely to be responded to. So whether that's channels such as Facebook, on our websites, in print, digitally printing specific things for customers, or through clienteling, the stores speak to customers on a one-to-one basis. How can they utilize some of the data in their interactions with customers in store? So it's not just an online experience that we're personalizing.
I think the key word that we've kind of talked about over and over again in the session has been data, right? And I think this is going to be potentially the one-word answer that you give to our last question. Can you give our audience any tips in terms of achieving the same success that you guys have seen at Orlebar Brown, and that really customer-centric and channel agnostic personalization?
Sure. It's been a really long journey. So I've been at OB for 4 years, so it's taken four years to get to this point. But I'd say make sure you analyze your data set first, just so that you can prioritize which programs or initiatives you need to improve on first. Start with changing something achievable first, and then you've got something that you can build on a little bit later. And also making use of the data and insight within Emarsys, just sharing that with your other platforms. We've all started with data silos, inputted all of the data into Emarsys. So now we need to kind of make that data available to all of the other platforms and technology that we use across the business as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Seb, and hopefully you get to have a bit of a tour of your New Mallorca store this summer as well.
Definitely, fingers crossed. Thanks very much, Vic.
Thanks so much.